What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, that means you're new. I'm Mark. What's good with y'all? Go check out my other videos. Check them out. Check them out. But first, stay on this one. So in this video, we're going to be discussing a story time, right? So story time. What is the dumbest thing I've seen somebody do on the range as I am an RSO, or at least while I am being an RSO, or while I'm on duty as an RSO? However I decided to word it, you guys get the point. All right, so this is a pretty well-known situation, at least for me and my coworkers, obviously, but for a few customers too. They heard about it and were like, "Hey, Mark, what happened?" And I had to explain to them. So, what is the dumbest thing I've ever seen be done on the range, and actually why I had to kick these people out? So this group comes in, and it's a fairly large group. No big deal. We've had entire like parties of 10 plus in the range before. That's not an issue. The issue starts to arise a bit when I'm going over the safety debrief with them, which is part of my job. So that way they know the rules of the range, and so that way they don't break our rules and get themselves kicked out. Okay, they're not listening. How can I tell? Because they're just trying to wave me off like, "Oh, we know what we're doing," and that quickly turned into something very, very dangerous. And I think this is a learning moment for everybody out there. All right, this is very much so a learning moment. It is called muzzle discipline, guys. Focus where your muzzle is. So they start unpacking their bags. Things are normal. They're not breaking any rules. I explained to them, hey, there is a 5 yard minimum. They decided to not follow that rule. And they did have a little kid with them, and at our range, we do allow children as young as 5 in there. Of course, they have to be supervised by an adult, and there were several adults there. So before anybody freaks out about that, and they were having this little kid shoot, and he shot our ceiling a couple times. So me being the nice guy I am, I'm like, hey, aim a little lower, little man. You got this. Just chill for a second. Aim a little bit lower. You got this, dude. You're doing good. Being nice, just what I do. And then, I'm assuming that's the kid's father. I'm not sure because this was a large group. Takes the target down, puts up his own target, decides to not follow our 5 yard minimum again. So I go up to him, hey, just make sure that your target is at the 5 yard line. It has to be there. That is our minimum. I then notice that one of his firearms is not pointed down range. That's a big deal at our range because if it's not pointed down range, that means it's pointed either to the left, which means at the people in the lane next to them, or to the right, at the people in the lane on the other side of them. So neither of those directions are a safe direction to point your firearm, guys. So what did I do? I turned his firearm and I said, hey, just make sure you keep it pointed down range. He started trying to be very argumentative with me. And let's be 100% honest, guys. When does anybody ever think arguing with the range safety officer is going to do them good? Like, be honest, guys. When do you think that's going to work out well for you? Not like, hey, the RSO is just going to, be mean and, just cause problems for you. But at what point do you think that, hey, this guy's entire job is safety? Maybe he's on my tail for a reason, especially considering that I am breaking some of the universal firearm safety rules. I'm still being nice and gracious. He tries giving me an attitude and gets argumentative with me, and he's like, oh, it just feels like this guy is picking on me. And I simply said to him, I'm like, sir, I'm sorry you feel that way, but if you truly feel that way, you can leave. You can leave. They stopped, or at least he stopped trying to argue with me because I just wasn't going to argue with him, guys. Sorry, that's not what I'm there to do. I'm there to work. Uh, and he starts shooting. After he shoots, right, I notice that, hey, his firearm didn't lock back. The slide didn't lock back on his firearm. So what does that mean? That means they're still around in the chamber, even though he just dropped the mag out. A normal person, let's say pointed this way towards the camera, is downrange. A normal person, when they are clearing their firearm, they're going to keep the firearm pointed downrange. As they pull back the slide, lock it back, make sure they see the round exit the chamber, and then they can visually and possibly physically, if they would like to, inspect the firearm to make sure it's clear. That's what a normal person does. What does this guy decide to do? He decides to, again, towards the camera is downrange. He decides to point his firearm like this to try to rack it back. Now, at this point, this means he was pointing a loaded gun. Guess at who, guys? Me. So, yeah, that's not about to fly, guys. And then guess who? Keep in mind, this is a little kid, so it's not like it's his fault. Guess who walks in front of the muzzle? The little kid. Why? Because he doesn't know what's going on. He's a little kid pretty much. He just thinks, hey, we're shooting. So this guy inadvertently flagged me and who I can assume is his kid, if not his friend's kid, with a loaded firearm. And then obviously I kicked him out. I said, sir, you need to pack it up and leave. You are being extremely unsafe. We cannot have that here. How am I being unsafe? He starts getting argumentative with me. And I simply said, sir, I am not here to argue with you. I am here to enforce the rules. You have broken a lot of our rules. I've had to correct you multiple times on this. You guys need to pack it up and go. I'm sorry. They start leaving. I radio over to my boss and my supervisor. Hey guys, this is the situation. If you guys want to pull up the camera footage, you can go ahead and see and hear everything that happened. Them being, right on it, just like they always are, they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. They start pulling up the camera footage, and it's policy that they pull up the footage just so that way they can 100% say, yeah, my RSO did the right, he did his job, he did the right thing. But it was very funny to me considering that the lane this guy was in had such a perfect view in our camera. We got the most perfect still shot of this man flagging me with a loaded firearm. And as he's sitting there trying to argue with my supervisor, oh, well, I was being safe. I don't know. I think your RSO is on a power trip. He's just like, yeah, sure, whatever, buddy. Whatever you say, man. You can go, though. My RSO did kick you out. You can go. And they left. They were very frustrated. And, hey, it sucks for the rest of the group because of the actions of one individual. However, if that's how one of the grown-ups acted, there were other kids there too. They were older than the little kid who I mentioned who did shoot our ceiling. However, there were other kids there too. So if that's how one of the adults acted, I don't foresee the children acting much better, especially when it comes to firearms. But yeah, no, obviously they had the perfect still shot of this guy flagging me with a firearm. So, they were like, my RSO did his job, dude. Sorry. And that was that, but there's a very important lesson here, guys. Muzzle discipline. We see it all throughout this situation where I had to correct them on keeping their firearms pointed downrange. Muzzle discipline. That's very important, guys. The kid shooting the ceiling, while not 100% his fault, still does fall under muzzle discipline. The reason why I say it's not 100% the kid's fault is because, the kid was just super short and he was just doing what, again, who I'm assuming is either his dad or his friend's dad told him to do, which was, hey, shoot this target. And the target was a bit higher up, which caused that. So while not the kid's fault, still falls under muzzle discipline. And last but not least, flagging me and that same little kid with a loaded firearm definitely is a learnable experience here for muzzle discipline, guys. Make sure you know where your firearm is pointed at. Doesn't matter the situation, whether the firearm is in your hand or not. Make sure you know where the firearm is pointed at. You don't want to be flagging anybody. You don't want to be that person that lacks muzzle discipline. But with that being said, I do think that about wraps it up for this video. Y'all make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell. When you hit that bell, hit all in. Whether or not you like the content I put in this video, whether or not you like the story, go ahead and comment your thoughts down below, because, I mean, obviously it's a pretty crazy situation, guys, you know. But comment your thoughts down below. Make sure to check out all my other videos. Y'all make sure to stay legal, stay safe, stay dangerous. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.